You're tuning in to Past Our Prime, a show powered by Squad Locker.
Let's be great. Let's be great.
Here are your hosts, retired Astros minor league star Tip Fairchild and former Patriots All-Pro center Dan Copen.
Go rock this thing, huh?
All right, here we go. Episode 75, Past Our Prime, powered by Squad Locker. Kurt Weaver, executive director of You Can Play Project, is going to be joining us shortly. And you may hear him in the background if he hasn't muted his Zoom yet. It doesn't really matter. I did not. That doesn't count because
So Dan just
we have a swear jar. We established that last week.
We established it last week,
but we were not recording. We weren't live. I don't think it counts.
I know a swear jar doesn't mean that we can't swear in the confines of our own selves. It just means we can't swear on a published episode, right?
And I don't think that will be. It may be published because sometimes they play. Do they play the stuff beforehand?
No, we'll cut it out.
All right, so I'm still.
He's
the only one who swore.
Back to zero.
And Gary, the CEO, is the only one who swore multiple times last episode after he directed us not to swear.
Are you beeping those out?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. All right.
So
one thing we haven't touched on, though, since he came back, so before we get into it, Kurt, and you can chime in here if you'd like, and we'll talk about the You Can Play project in extents as we go.
I don't think that's a word.
Extensively.
That's what I was looking at. You were looking to go. You were looking to go in depth.
I like it.
I was looking to go in depth.
I think he combined two words.
Incense.
Incense.
That's the thing that you light and it like gives a
Incense.
smell. Yeah,
not incensed.
Yeah,
incensed is like rage, right? I mean,
I don't know.
Incensed.
A lot of words sound the same today. So what I was going to say though is you just came back from Disney.
Yeah.
So this will be a little delayed, but you just came back from Disney. Did I see a picture of you with Mickey Mouse shirt on?
No, you saw a picture. Mickey may have been on there. It was a great shirt.
I saw that you guys all maybe had a matching shirt.
It was a pink shirt. Mickey may have been on there. My wife saw it in one of the gift shops, and it was me, my father-in-law, and my brother-in-law were down there. One of the brother-in-laws was missing. But she thought it would be a great shirt for us to wear together. And I think is it like better together or something?
Better together.
We're having more fun better together or something like that.
Okay, we can go with it.
But the problem was it was cotton.
Oh, sweat right through it.
So what I did was
pit stains.
I actually love the shirt. It's a great shirt.
This is soft.
It's soft. It's comfortable, but it was cotton, and we had those the locker tees 2.0 right
those
made
nice.
beforehand.
Yep.
Those were sweat proof.
Got it.
Still sweated my butt off.
Yep. That would have been a $10 one.
That would have been a low one. Yeah, we can probably say that still, but still sweated my butt off down there.
Sweat. I don't think you would say sweated. Sweat your butt off.
Is that
sweat is past tense?
Is that past tense too?
Yeah.
All
well, no, it's also present tense.
It's like one of those moose and
Smoked.
Yeah,
mice smoke. I smoked.
Smoked. Yeah, for sure.
I smoked my butt off.
I love this. Yeah.
And that was a great shirt.
Okay.
It was really hot in the morning when you first got out into the heat. And then it cooled down a little bit, maybe. If you found some shade, only in certain spots. Epcot, no shade.
Got it.
Hollywood Studios, no shade.
Got it.
Direct heat. It was like 95, 96, 97 degrees.
I would have the biggest hat in the world
I
on.
think we averaged walking
You told me.
12 to 14 miles a day.
Talk about it in steps. 25,000 a day, right?
Yeah, 23,000. I think my most was 28.
That's a lot of steps.
It was
you
nonstop.
slimmed down. You've put it back.
I lost a lot of muscle tone. You sent me that one pic too, and just like you kind of look a little bad. It was
Where
just
all
like
the water's out of you.
It made me feel bad.
I knew as soon as I saw that picture, I was like, I'm saving this one forever.
You know, it's just like, and then you get through the day, and the kids had a great time. It was a great trip. You know, the magic was gone probably a little bit at the end.
The magic left the building.
The magic was gone. I was ready to come home, but you get done at the end of the day. It's like, all right, we just want to hang out in the air conditioning or whatever. Couldn't even stay awake.
I bet. Tired. And
it was exhausting.
Tired and chafed.
One day was chafed. One day. I actually, I didn't want to, and there's a great thing. It's not Tinactin. It's like
it's just Johnson & Johnson. Well, Johnson & Johnson isn't even on the shelves anymore.
Gold Bond. Gold Bond
Bond,
saved
Yeah,
me.
I don't like the. I don't like the how it
Gold Bond
actually
saved
smells.
me.
Gold Bond for sure. Oh,
Not medicated.
You get that little
Little tinge?
the little tinge to it, the little shock.
No way.
It goes minty.
It's like minty,
it's like
medicated
minty.
mint. You can smell it for like a month.
So
after
Gold
that.
Bond saved me that one day, and then I actually ordered from Amazon. Like I use a spray thing, and it's not. Look up
a little butt butter.
look up-
Is that what it's called?
It's Lotrimin. It's a
Lotrimin. You have to look it up.
It's a Lotrimin spray.
Kurt, you could have chimed
I'm
in
not
any
even
time
joking.
on this. You know, I know you had it on the tip of your
We've all
tongue.
been there. We've all been there. And at Disney, of all places, you're gonna sweat, and you got to go Gold Bond. You got to go some solution.
You've got to have great underwear.
Yeah,
or
great
spandex
underwear.
or whatever. You can't have them. You can't have the tighty whities. You've got to have full inner thigh coverage.
Yeah, because they're
Performance fabrics.
Yes,
Yeah.
you need performance.
That's right.
But if I had my Lotrimin spray, and if it gets really bad, I swear to God, we should film this one day.
we shouldn't.
No, it doesn't even. You're not going to see anything or whatever. But if it's really bad and you spray this on, you are in the most agonizing pain.
Oh yeah.
For 2 minutes.
It's like you jump around and like you're trying to get air.
You're borderline, you're borderline crying and laughing at the same time,
It hurts.
jumping around.
And it's like minty. That's the thing. It's like minty.
But 2 minutes of that pain,
Yeah.
you're good afterwards.
It's like putting on a hydrogen peroxide on a cut. You're like,
Yes.
oh my God, but then
straight
the cut
alcohol
feels better.
right onto it. And
Absolutely.
then I thought it was going to get bad. So from Amazon, I ordered a Lotrimin cream to the hotel just to make sure I was covered. Because I didn't know if Gold Bond was going to do it. And then you're talking about like, now
I do you know what I do is I do the mid walk tuck thing where you like get the you like put the boxers.
I think 95% of the males down there are walking
you guys
around
know.
tucking
Yeah,
like that.
everybody knows.
It's
Yeah.
like, you're hurting right now, buddy.
Yeah, you're doing the walk and then you do like the one tuck and then you're like, oh gosh, relief for a moment until it slides back.
But if you got to walk around like you just got off like a horse or something like in a while, it's like, oh, that guy's having a bad day.
That's right. Well, I'm going to the t-shirt thing because that's a good idea for Squad Locker, right? Because
It is.
what people, we haven't experienced this in a couple years. People are traveling again. Remember that everybody buys the t-shirt to go somewhere. So it got me thinking, you can use Squad Locker for that. You add the logo. So you could have done your Mickey Mouse logo or whatever and then bought everybody a shirt and they get it on time and then they go on their trip.
By the way, you want loud colors down there too. Loud colors,
Yeah.
so you can
Stand out.
identify your kids.
That's right.
And hopefully you don't lose them.
Okay. Kurt, did we lose you on that story? Are we okay?
No, I mean, listen, I appreciate this, and I think that you are both coming to the thing that we all have come to at some point, which is when we were younger in the locker room at the gym, and we saw the old guys in the corner just baby powdering from head to toe.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
like, what is going on here? And we now know. We now understand, and we now get it. And it's like, yes,
I'm not
they
sure
knew
if
something.
I'm not sure if I can say this word in the swear jar yet, but I used to call that nipples down. so as much baby powder as possible, just all over. And then this is when I was
Oh,
playing.
that's when you go waistband out and just shake
from
it.
the top, look up here and let it all pour down in. So I used to, when I was playing in Texas, and we talked about this, I think with Mickey. We talked about how much baby powder we used to use. The giant Johnson & Johnson bottles, and they would only be there for a day because every guy was blah, blah.
I prefer the scented lavender.
Oh, you like lavender?
The lavender scented.
I like
Very nice.
Johnson and
straight up
Johnson.
regular.
It smells delicious.
And it's not, and I know a Johnson & Johnson person, and they said that it's not on the shelves anymore, but they're like, this is not.
Lavender's
like
not on the
shelves.
shelves or just
No,
regular?
none of them are. None of them are.
Should be.
Because they're talc powder.
It's coming. We're coming to the hot season. You need baby
I know.
powder.
I'm running low. I only got about 2 inches left in my big giant bottle, and I need another one.
You can go to the convenience stores. They have the little ones too.
The Johnson & Johnson
Yep.
still?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right. Okay. Now that we're through that, okay. You can play project. Talk to us,
Yes.
Kurt. Is that a good lead-in?
He is the executive
perfect.
director.
Executive director,
It's kind of a big deal.
the ED.
Yeah.
All right. So talk to us about it.
Yeah, so we actually turned 10 years old this year. So it's been a great year for us to be able to sort of look back and celebrate the organization. But it got going out of a need for addressing some challenges, of course, in sport. We've all been in the locker rooms. We've all been in team activities before. And there was a culture, and still somewhat permeates sport in some ways, but the culture was that coach is going to probably be the leader of this in the old days, and players as well. I'm gonna misgender you, or I'm going to use homophobic words to then somehow motivate you to do better in sport, or simply to build camaraderie or whatever the reasons were. But it was homophobic words were pretty rampant through sport as a very normal thing. It was it was around, we just heard it, and it was part of the game is what they said. And so it was really starting off to say there's a death by 1,000 cuts that happen from athletes that come into sport. And it's why you're seeing LGBTQ athletes not entering sport more often or not staying long through sport. And it's because that death by 1,000 cuts happens and they're not making big announcements when they leave sport or when they don't join at all. They simply kind of quietly walk out the back like Homer Simpson going out the hedge. And that's how the athletes leave. And it's because they hear it again and again and again. And it's driving them from sport, coaches, referees, officials, fans. And so it's really all levels of sport. And so they got going to combat this. And they started in a really unique way, which was they started through the NHL because the Burke family, Brian Burke and Patrick Burke, Brian's now GM of the Penguins and Patrick works for the NHL. Mm-hmm. They really got it up and going after Patrick's brother and Brian's son, Brendan, came out as a collegiate hockey player who was on his way to the NHL. And when he came out, he was really the only voice in that space and an out collegiate athlete at that level who was on his way to the NHL. Unfortunately, he died in a car accident. And so the organization was really started sort of in his name and to get that kicked off. But we started with the NHL as one of the very first steps. And so looking for how to make hockey of all sports, right? Start with a good challenge here. How do we make hockey more inclusive? How do we get people to think about this stuff? And I think through 10 years, it's been working with nearly every sport you've heard of, every league, all around the world, not just in North America, but it's been a great progress we've seen. And really the overt homophobic stuff is pretty much gone by the wayside, but you still get a lot of that casual homophobia that happens out there. So
more
like
sissy and pansy. The locker room talk. Yeah, because I was looking over the mission thing.
Yep.
And it was like, okay, yeah, you want a safe locker room, you want to include it, you want everybody to feel welcome and all that stuff. And I was just like, okay, but that's really the number one goal of a locker room, probably said from day one on a coach. But when you say it's about the language that is used in a locker room, especially back in the day, probably. And when I started out, it was much more. It wasn't like you're thinking like
Same
that.
To me.
But that makes sense to me.
And it's, I think literally in our podcast profile, Max, it says like stories and tales from the locker room, right? It's like what we are. That's what we do. Like Dan's got $1 million from playing for the Patriots. I got $1 million from playing with the Astros. We got $1 million from nights out and from like, I call it stories from stretch, where like everybody's stretching. It's just like it's story time, right?
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I don't want to be here right now. It's so hot. I just want to go lay down.
But I will tell you that. So what year are we in? 2022.
Correct.
Right? You guys started 10 years ago, so 2012, right? We were both done playing at that time?
No, I just got fired.
I had already been fired.
Correct.
I was done in 2007
or 8.
No, 10.
Oh, was it 10? You got okay. All right, good.
So even at the end of my time, and probably at the end of yours, I would say that homophobic words and slurs and swears, I guess, I don't know if that's just words.
They obviously didn't have a swear jar.
We're already going out. I would say 2000, when I was playing, like it was not that common to hear those terms as much. People were already being like, whoa, let's not say that word. Mm-hmm. Would you say that? Would you agree with me?
I think in the locker rooms that I was in, especially as we got older and all that stuff, I would agree with that.
But then 10 years ago, I would think, like you said, it's not, I can't remember what you just mentioned, but you said it's not as outwardly like, but now it's like the passively, like,
we call it overt and casual, but
overt and casual. There it is. Yeah. Like casually, I even feel like, boy, I couldn't even tell you when I've said one of those terms in a long time. No, casually.
No.
Even, right. And I think that 10 years ago, you probably casually were still using that language. Is that accurate?
Oh, yeah. And there was kind of a campaign around "That's so gay," right? So don't say that's gay, or don't use that as a way to describe things. So there was a little bit of a campaign around that. But the sissy and pansy stuff on broadcast this year, during a hockey game and during a baseball game, we had those things said. So it's like they still happen, and it's not. Again, when you talk to the broadcaster, you talk to the individual, they're never like, "Oh, I meant that to be homophobic." They're simply like, "Oh, I just talk about sports in that way. It's sports language." And so we get that a lot. And I mean, again, we all know coach growing up, like we know what they yelled at us and we heard it and we just used it then ourselves. And I think most people when using this stuff didn't really think it through to say, oh, that's homophobic, or I'm misgendering somebody, or I'm doing something that's tearing them down. So I don't think that's the way they approached it. But I think once they see the mirror held up and they realize what actually it's doing, and how many athletes have we lost through my time playing my sport? And again, you don't know, because it's not somebody who, they don't raise the hand and make a big announcement on the way out.
On your one pager on the website, uncanplayproject.org. Look at that throw in there.
Wow.
We're getting
So
better at
good.
this. What is that?
Dan, you're on
Check it
fire.
out.
Yeah.
You got. I mean, those one pagers that you do on the website
You
are
used
really
a highlighter?
I did. I did.
I didn't say it. I should.
All right.
Use the highlighter.
I got two things on this, but just on yours, what you said earlier, they sort of just Homer Simpson fade into the hedges, right? Mm-hmm. The 24% of LGBTQ plus, you say they would play a school, or they play a school sport, compared to 68%, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think that they're using these? Do they use those words too, or just get uncomfortable with them and walk away, or like maybe not their time where they want to come out, or what?
They're not ready to.
It's you want hard workers, you want talent, you want work ethic, you want to be able to trust that individual, but that number seems low. Like if the high school and all that stuff, like if they want to play, they're going to play. I get the fact that they're using words that are bad and making them uncomfortable, but maybe some of them they're just not that into the sport.
So we had a conversation the other day about this. It was really interesting. I think the times have changed to where in corporate America, in sports, in anywhere else, we've passed the point of, oh, I don't care what you are. Like, well, no, it's not that I don't care what you are anymore, whether it be your sexuality or your race or your religion, right? We've all heard people be attacked around those things. Mm-hmm. It's not that I don't care anymore. I actually want to care now, and I want to harness that to make the team better, to make the office better. And I think that's the difference to where in the past it's been, even if it was tolerance is a base level. And Brian Burke actually the other day said, tolerance is for cats. Like you tolerate cats. He said, you love people and you want to know more about those people. So it's really about changing that mindset. And I think younger athletes, especially younger athletes today, if it's even a simple baseline of tolerance and not allowing you to be who you are within the space you are, I'm not going to perform as well as I should. Mm-hmm. And we talk about this to where when we talk about the bag, like your baseball bag getting heavier every time you go to practice, because not only do you have maybe some issues at home or homework or just challenges or whatever else is in your way for sport, the things that you can't change, like your race, your sexuality, your gender identity, those things, when you're attacked on those things you can't change, you don't like, or when you feel attacked on those things, you don't stick around to see how it's going to go. You simply say, I can't change that. Yep. And I'm unwilling to change all of you. So I simply walk away, or again, I never join. And I think that's where we're also trying to educate young athletes that are that maybe are out and say, listen, sport is a place for you. Traditionally, maybe you've not thought that, but we all know the benefits of sport. It made us all who we are. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. 1,000 great things about it. And for a community who has by percentage higher mental health issues because of some of the challenges they face, sport is a benefit that they need. So I think opening it up and making sure that it's not just open but welcoming. And so it's not just sort of like letting somebody into the gym. It's asking them to dance too.
And you mentioned something right there where having them not even start to play is probably more dangerous than them walking away. Right? Like, so.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Because then you're not getting, even just if you look at it as if, it's just working out, physical activity. Like you have this whole population of people who aren't comfortable to play because they don't want to start. Instead of walking away might be not, I mean, it's not a good thing either, but it's more concerning that people wouldn't start to do something because of that, right? And like we both have young kids, so I've got an 8 and a 6-year-old, and Dan's in the same kind of batch of ages there, like
plus
12,
1 kid,
plus one kid, plus one on top of that. Like I can't imagine that their experience is even remotely close to what ours was. Like in high school sports and college sports and even in like adult rec and everything else from there, professional, whatever it is. Like I just see all the inclusion now in schools and like how like the kids are so much different now, and they're so much more like accepting of everybody.
I think we're aware of it too, and passing it on to kids. The teachers are aware of it, and that's how they're learning. Which maybe our generation or generations before that didn't learn like that.
Exactly, and a coach is going to be much different right now, coaching my 8-year-old than the person that coached me at 8 years old. Right? There's a huge difference there.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I can't even really figure how they're gonna is there gonna be any, are they gonna be?
I hope not.
Like, I feel like it's gonna be amazing.
I hope not. But there's always that like one person. So like you take like you know what I mean, Kurt? There's a one like you got an off night or a
that they learn it from or something.
Like you're like that whole group can get lumped into one bad person or one person's mistake. Like you got 1,500 NFL players, right? There's a bye week. There's one person that goes out and gets a DUI. One. The other people may go home, spend time with their family. Some may do charitable work. Someone goes on a vacation. Who shows up in the newspaper?
Yeah.
That one person that got the DUI, and it gives a black mark to the whole sport.
Yep.
100%. And then we deal with this all the time, which is, of course, a homophobic slur gets caught on a hot mic on a field in the heat of battle, right? Something happens, and immediately the tweets start flying. Well, see, that sport, like I knew it. You know, they're all homophobes. It's like, well, hang on. You know, let's take a beat here and let's actually have a conversation about what this is. That's why I love You Can Play as an organization. Is they don't believe in cancel culture. It's we're going to work with the athlete or the coach or whoever it was. We're going to have a conversation, highlight some new information they didn't have before. Now, if they double down on stupidity, that's a whole different thing.
Totally
but if they
different. Different.
You know what, you're absolutely right, and I'm going to be the new advocate for you for at least for a couple of weeks here, using my very large Twitter and Instagram to then hopefully hype up your message. And I think that's where almost every single time, once given new information, they say, "Okay, I was dumb. Sorry about that. I want to be better about it."
So I think that's your take.
That's all
then,
you can ask, really.
I've got a good one for you then, and this will be good. This will be perfect to get your insight.
We'll judge that.
No, I do. What's your take on like Justin Thomas, right, in golf? I mean, that was a big deal, right? Like hot mic, slur, right? Homophobic slur, lost lots of sponsorships, right? Didn't lose his career because he's come back, but how did he handle that? Do you know? Are you familiar with that specific example?
Yeah, and so I
don't have the Ralph Lauren deal, like all the stuff, right?
I don't have the behind the scenes detail around that. It's not one that we worked on specifically, but I can tell you that the process behind the scenes is going to be, first of all, of course, there's crisis management for that league or for the PGA. Yep. And so we've all seen what that looks like. You both probably be in the locker room. All of a sudden the PR people come in the locker room for the first time, yep. That sees like, hey, time to have a chat. But what we find is that it's going to shut the lights off a bit. You have to allow the pushback, but you also have to then lean into it as an athlete or as a team yep. or as a league and an organization. I think that's where we find that too many times we're going to wait for legal and see what they're going to come back with before we then say something about it. And I think this is where organizations like the PGA are doing a little bit better here and leagues are, because they're willing to say, listen, regardless of what this is, we're going to look into this as an issue. So from an organizational standpoint, we're going to look into this as an issue. But in the meantime, we love people and we want you to know that you're welcome in golf or hockey or football or whatever. And that's been the nice changes. They're learning to make that statement first, which is we're going to find out the detail on what happened here. But in the interim, we're not going to wait for legal. We're just going to say, we believe in this. Yep. Separately then for Justin and other athletes like that, like you get stuck. And I think people, when genuinely going back and saying, I mean, first of all, there has to be the apology. And then of course there has to be some work done to then make amends. And I think that's where the work that gets done a lot of times ends up being a check being cut. And it's wonderful and appreciated, but truly it's get to know somebody in the community, because proximity is almost always the issue. If you don't have somebody in proximity to you that is a different race, religion, ethnicity, anything, you don't know the understanding. You don't know them, and you're not going to understand where they came from or what the story is. So it's almost always where proximity can help solve some of those problems, and just highlight an athlete. Hey, you didn't know this about it, and you didn't realize what that word meant to certain people. And so it stayed in your vocabulary, even if it was in the background. It just pops out when you're angry about something. Yeah. That's why it's there, because again, proximity has not been part of your life.
Yeah, and that's what it seemed like happened with him for sure. And the thing that I wonder, when people lose sponsorships over stuff like this, and when people lose, backing, even like in any aspect, when does it come back, or can it come back? Like, could Ralph Lauren I think it's actually RLX, which is Ralph Lauren's sport version. Like, can they come back to him and say, hey, we're ready again. Let's go. How is that portrayed?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like,
and honestly,
I feel like they should almost, but
they should, and I think they're very apprehensive to do so because of the issues that they think they're going to face. But I think what's better than something happening? I mean, of course, we don't want it to happen in the first place, but if it is going to happen, what's better than actually doing something about it, fixing an issue, and then coming back out stronger the other side? This is why. Again, the let's fire them immediately and cancel them.
That's what I feel. I feel. I feel like it was too much of a canceling of him on that. You want
people to grow and learn from this, which everybody should, but not just cancel.
Yeah, that's why I almost feel like if you're going to be a big sponsor like that, and that happens, and he apologized. He was in that mix of obviously didn't check with legal because he apologized the second the round was over. I remember that whole thing. Like he was like, "Hey, messed up. This is what happened, blah, whatever." And then Ralph Lauren drops him, whatever it was, a week later, 2 days later, the next day even. It's almost like, don't drop him, like, support him during it and be like, hey, you're suspended for a year. You're suspended for 6 months. Listen, we want you back. We want to help you. We want to be with you on this. Rather than now, it just seems like it was a thing like, okay, they dropped him like, those ties are done. I don't know what was fixed. I don't know if anything was fixed.
You're exactly right. And I think that's where brands have to have a longer look than the next 3 tweets. And I think many of them are getting there. And I give them credit when they do this, but teams as well. I think there was a time when we went through at a lot of the pro leagues, just cut the cancer out and we'll deal with, the repercussions later. And I think it's been better that we're trying to then find out, like I said, if this is the third time, this is the second time, like, okay, you're not learning your lesson. Clearly this is a part of you. And you're not hearing what we're telling you. It's a very different issue, but something's happened and you get, again, whether it's now, of course, with social media, players sitting there scrolling at night, ends up liking something and LOL on somebody's message. And all of a sudden that's the same now as making the statement yourself. It's the exact same thing. So, a lot of times it's just like, listen, be more thoughtful about this. And so that's why we work with teams and coaches and athletes and everybody else just to say, listen, think this stuff through. And again, I think this is where, to the sponsor side of it, the buying power of the LGBTQ community is immense. And so like you're accessing new fans, you're accessing new sponsors that you never thought would come your way. This is now an industry to actually look into, to say, I have a whole new fan base that just doubled my Instagram presence and got me out there and got me in front of a new sponsor that I would have never had in the past. So we work primarily with straight allies in that's mostly what sport is. And so we're always trying to say, listen, there's a space here for you. And of course we want tolerance at the base level here, but you don't understand the opportunities that you could have here by reaching out to a community like any community and showing that this sport's for you and me as an athlete. Cheer for me. I want you on my team. And
how do we do the doubling of the Instagram followers? We need some help with that if you want. We need some assistance. We think we're shadow banned, by the way. We're worried about our shadow ban.
Somebody canceled us.
Community guidelines for sure. You look like community guidelines.
We are stuck on a number right now.
USA Soccer League, Major League Baseball, NFL, Nike, NHL. I mean, those are NASCAR.
Look at this one.
That's minor league. Oh.
That's right here, pal.
Oh yeah, you're there. I mean, the sponsors. I mean, you could reach out. Yeah, they want to make money, but they could double us too.
That's right.
Minor league baseball, like all things, they do amazing nights and parties and celebrations, and they do some of the most fun pride nights. Like they just because any idea goes as long as it's going to sell a couple more tickets, which that's the best part. So minor league baseball kills it on this stuff. Just some really unique and fun, different ideas. And it's always it's entertaining to see what they come up with next. But they also do then a great report to then show, listen, this benefited our bottom line, and so. The numbers we ticked up about 8% over a normal night when we do Pride nights. It's like 8% more ticket sales is a huge impact to a bottom line for minor league team.
Right. Have you seen the Savannah Bananas team that does all the wild stuff like that?
The Maine Mariners have a video on their website.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Bunch of cool videos on there. The Maine Mariners are on there.
Yeah. So you mentioned, Pride Night, right? And we're coming. This is going to go.
What's your favorite event of the year that you guys do? Ooh. I mean, we don't have to get
cut me off. It doesn't. Just swerved into my lane and just cut me off on that question. It was a good question.
My wife does that. Says it all the time.
I'm going to let you go.
In my head, it might have.
Favorite night? No,
you remember that.
I'm going to write it down.
You remember that.
I'm going to write it down. You keep going.
Let's let him breathe for a second. We got a lot of information. What's his favorite night?
Ooh, God. There's so many good Pride nights. I'll tell you what, the one that I'm excited for coming up here, the European League of Football, we'll call it the next NFL over there. Michael Sam is coaching the Barcelona team. The very first Pride night is going to happen July 3rd this year, for the first one that's ever happened in that league. And Michael Sam is their defensive coach, and he's going to be leading the way during the Pride game. So I'm unfortunately not going to get to that game in Barcelona, but if anybody finds yourself in Barcelona on July 3rd, go see the football team there and see the very first Pride night.
Got it. So it's an upcoming event. I like that.
Yeah.
Good promotion.
So it may be his favorite. It might be.
Might be. We don't know yet.
We don't know. It hasn't happened yet.
All right. Can I get back to my question?
Yes. Did you write it down?
Yes, I did. All right. So this episode's going when, Max?
Thursday.
So we go into July, but June is traditionally Pride Month, correct?
Yeah.
Right?
Traditionally? It is.
No, it is. Yes, it absolutely is. Okay, so anyway, a month, dedicated to this, but really, like, it should just be something, right, that we always kind of, I guess not necessarily celebrate, but just recognize and understand and know. And, Providence, where we are, we're in Rhode Island. I drove downtown on Saturday on, like, Pride, the actual Pride night. It was bananas. There was like 200,000 people down there. Like, have you ever been down? Have you ever seen like that scene down in downtown?
I avoid Providence like the plague.
Yeah, you avoid Providence.
You just walk this dog on Main Street in East Greenwich. That's it.
It is like becoming wild, like for that, and like it's. I can't imagine like 20 years ago thinking the same thing, right? You know what I mean? Like or 3 years ago. I'm not sure like how far back, but. It's like very much celebrated, very much like appreciated. I think is another word. It's recognized, like it's all over the place, and like it feels like it's a good time. So do you have thoughts and like I was gonna say thoughts and prayers, thoughts and takes on having June be that month, and we're coming off of June right now, and like does it feel like oh wow, whew, what a relief that was a long month for us, or is it like hey let's continue this?
Yeah, the number one thing we work with our partners is Pride 365 is the idea, because June should really just be highlighting what you did the rest of the year. And that's don't come up with a new campaign for June or, you're going to rainbow your logo and throw it up, but don't make that the thing you actually do. Talk about what you did in October and what you did in February and the outreach thing you did or the Pride night. So we're really working with them to then put that schedule together around the year. So then June becomes just a conglomeration of B-roll footage of what you did throughout, the rest of the year.
More of a celebration.
Yeah.
I like that.
And that's we always hear the word authentic, authenticity, and you're not authentic about it, or you're rainbow washing, which is what it's called now that companies tend to do. And it's like, listen, the way to get rid of that is to do things year round. And then again, celebrate them in June. And I think that to your point around the parade, we find that 22 hovers around % of millennials and younger identify with the LGBTQ community. And people think that means there's more gay people. And it's like, well, no, they're identifying with a movement and with a community of people that is open, accepting, and about love and you're welcome here. Mm-hmm. When right now, a lot of things are about, you're not welcome to sit with us at this table. And so in a time when that's being used a lot, there's a group over here that says, all are welcome. We have a great time. If you want to wear a rainbow, great. If not, you're still welcome. I walked in Denver's parade on Sunday, and the Avalanche, Bernie, the Avalanche St. Bernard mascot, was there with it must have been a 20-foot by 20-foot pride flag that he was waving while on rollerblades. There must have been a million people down there. And so seeing that happen, and again, seeing the crowd love sport and sport love the crowd, it's a very cool thing to see.
No, it was. I drove down there and I was like, "Holy!" Like they had all the barricades. Did I almost say swear?
You almost did. Holy,
the barricades were up. I mean,
Max is on it.
Stages everywhere, and there was like open. It was like an open. It was almost like saying, "Hey, we're in a French Quarter right now. French Quarter. And you can.
God, who's having problems?
Yeah, there's a lot of
yeah.
And like, hey, you can take a drink from this place to that place, and it was very, very like welcoming.
Yeah,
that's how it felt.
He's right, especially nowadays when it's just like you're either this or that, and if you don't like what I like, I don't like you. You know what I mean? Especially politics,
mostly politics
and cancel, but it's enough already.
Yeah, enough. I agree with you. Enough.
The other thing I saw on the one pager, love the one pager. It's not only about the teams in the locker room. It's about the spectators. It's about the fans, right? Because you're sitting. Those same words can be used by a guy sitting next to me drinking a 24-ounce Bud Light, yelling at players where he might not know who's next to him, and that affects them too.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, Dan, I'm sure those are your favorite people when you're playing.
I like the ones who drink the beer, who yell obnoxiously. I don't like those guys.
Yeah.
It's like, you open in section C. You want to come down here and try what I'm doing here? So it's always interesting to see that. I think the fans are a hinge point for us in that to bring a community in truly. Of course, you're going to love what you're going to see on TV on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Like you're going to watch your heroes. You're going to then fall in love with the sport at some level. But what we try to do is engage with fan groups. And right now we just made a partnership with each soccer, like Major League Soccer, each team has their fan group. And so supporters group, call it what you want. The American Outlaws are the one for the USA, and then each team has their own. We just forged a partnership with those. There's a national organization for them. That's the difference. Like that's who is scary to a community who doesn't know the sport or is not access to the sport right now. And when I think, am I going to be able to go watch this soccer team play or baseball team play and feel safe? Who I'm worried about is not the athletes and the coaches and maybe them using some sort of homophobic slur. I'm actually worried about the guy sitting next to me 3 beers in. Yeah. And so where we try to work on is those organizations reach out to the community. It's one thing when the Mariners reach out, but when the Mariners fan group reaches out to then people and say, listen, come sit with me, come join us, come in the stands, buy some tickets, enjoy the game.
We've got our own section right here. You're good to go.
Yeah. And so it's about we always say act as if, like you don't. About 80% of kids are not out to their coaches or teams in high school. About 46% of adults are not out at work. And so you don't know, like act as if. It's just simply better. Neutral language is better. I would give you an example, like wheelchair ramps are great for all of us, but very specifically needed for a small group of people. And it's like, but we all use them and it's wonderful. So just make it better for everybody and it's going to be a better sport experience.
Do you have that tips to create an inclusive locker room? With your partnerships through the NFL or MLS or baseball, does this hang on a wall now in the locker room?
We develop signage usually for internal in a locker room if we're going to be doing that kind of thing. We also do the signage for stadiums, and so just kind of general language. But it comes down to if you can play, you can play. And that's our motto. And it's like, listen, if you can coach, you can coach. If you can play, you can play. We love you, whoever you are, and it's going to make you better, and it's going to make the team better. And what we always say is, how many Olympians, how many gold medal Olympians have we lost through kids not joining sport because they didn't feel welcome in it? Or how many pro athletes did we lose out of Major League Baseball or NFL that could have been excelling and contributing to a team, and we just lost them somewhere along the way? And that's just, of course, the mental benefits of sport is one thing. Achievement is the other. We want the best athletes out there to do the best job on the field.
Yeah. Yeah. And that leads again to that. How many did we lose along the way, but also just how many didn't start? Right? How many didn't start? That would have been.
And they never had a chance.
All of a sudden, they're 7'2". Would have been the best, center in the NBA, and never picked up a basketball their whole life.
Exactly.
Right? Like that's the scarier part that I think of.
What's your sports background? Rugby?
Rugby. Yeah.
Rugby?
I came up playing every sport there was, and then I kind of quit all sports because I went into band and choir for a few years there, and then I was like, listen, I got to get back into sports. I miss it. So when I was 16, I tried to get a rugby team started in my high school. I didn't get it going, so I played for the neighbor high school. But yeah, I fell in love with rugby. It was one of those sports that it was difficult enough I wasn't going to master it easily, and that's why I fell in love with it. And then I ended up playing for a long time, and I then refereed. I got the chance to referee all over the world, and it was a special experience.
What instrument in band?
I can't imagine what those
Drums.
players and fans were yelling at you when you were refereeing. Yeah, you probably heard it all.
I like to say, so I was in Kenya.
Dan absolutely hates referees.
I don't
by the
like
way.
referees. I really don't.
Listen to like 3 episodes ago.
What colors does rugby referees
I've
wear?
never seen a guy go on a bigger rant about refs than Dan 3 episodes ago.
I don't blame you. I being an international referee, and I still
you played the sport. You probably hated it when you were playing.
But we get to wear whatever color we want. We get to wear these beautiful pink jerseys we want, or orange, or blue, anything you want. It's kind of like soccer. You wear an alternate color from the players, but
you still have to wear polo. Is it the rugby polos that they wear?
Yeah, I mean they're now, of course, performance fabrics like everything else. But it's still very traditional.
Wear them at Disney.
But in rugby, they have to call us sir or ma'am.
Oh, really?
So rugby has sort of similar to NFL. You have the big guys up front and the smaller, faster in the back. And I was smaller and faster, so I had the pretty hair. I didn't want to do too much of the tackling.
The ear taping.
Yeah, I
That's
was
the only
more
thing
like,
I think
hey,
of when I think of rugby all the time.
ahead.
Is like the guy that like,
The cauliflower
literally.
ears?
It's like, but they're not even using like pre-wrap or anything. They're just like I just tape on it. You know, I'm like that's gotta hurt taking that off. I don't even like taking it off like my ankle.
They call you sir and ma'am.
Yeah, so you have to call the referee sir or ma'am. And so when you're on the field, and
never
really
used
only
that
the
term.
captain talks to them. So it's this wildly respectful thing in a very aggressive environment, which that's what again why it's an interesting sport in that way. Now they still use some choice language now and again. Of course,
I bet.
anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds like
I'm sorry, ma'am. I apologize.
It's wonderful, and of course the crowd tends to get into it too. I was going to say I was in Kenya refereeing their national team, and I had 25,000, about 20,000 Kenyan fans chanting at me. You're a Mr. Referee, and I'll put one in the swear jar for you. But they have a whole song they sing, and so it was like this beautiful thing where in beautiful song they're singing this to me as I'm refereeing on the field, and like I love the game.
Yeah, that's why you're there to piss them off.
All right, you said drums on the instrument, right? Did you say
Of
drums?
course, drumline. Yeah.
It's actually percussion.
Oh, jeez.
If you're in the band. Is that accurate?
Yes. So I played the quads. I don't know if the 4 drums together that are strapped together that you.
Oh, like Drumline, the movie. I love
Tim
that
has
movie.
no idea what a quad is.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that sound. Yeah. No, I love that. That movie, Drumline's one of my actually like sneaky favorite movies because I just like the.
See, so Tip, I see you either as a show choir kind of guy, or maybe you could be on drumline with me. Like I don't know what vibe I'm getting from you yet, but
definitely drumline guy. Like that's I remember one time we were playing this was a minor league game, and like you said, the minor league like flair of like craziness
their games
going
are
on.
awesome.
Right. So I remember we played. Where was I? This was down south somewhere, because the band they brought out the high school marching band, Drumline. It had like 25 people in it.
Oh yeah,
before the game, and it was like kind of a crisp night too.
Mm-hmm.
I had chills all over.
Goosebumps.
I had absolute goosebumps because they came out and they were doing the thing and they were like going back and forth, and I
Were
was
you
like,
pitching that night too?
no, I wasn't pitching that night.
If you were
I was
pitching,
literally
it
just
would've
like
been magical.
But like I remember we were playing catch. And I was like running like pass routes. I was like pretending I was warming up for a football game. And it was so fun, but I remember that. And Drumline's just like from that, not from that point on, but earlier than that, I just have always been like percussion. I really like a drum percussion.
Yeah, I do too.
You do? Did that get you excited?
I think it's amazing. I like that they can do that, and then they get the flips of the drumsticks and all that stuff. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm a great rock band drummer, by the way. Like that is my thing. I'm not an expert level, but maybe the one level underneath. Is it called rock band? It's called rock band, right?
The video game.
Yeah.
Yeah. The guitar, not singing, not a good singer.
No, it's easy to keep the tone inside of that whatever that bar that it stays. It's easy. You just
come on, Dan. Dan, you've got that like just enough rasp in the voice that you can do the sultry stuff every day. Come on,
I believe in marbles. There's marbles.
Every time I hear back our podcast, and it's just the same thing probably with everybody. If you listen to your voice, you just want to throw up.
It's not fun.
Do I really sound like that?
It's not fun. So with all the sports that you guys are working with, are there? So I'm going down an inclusion question here, like eventually, because we do that at Squad Locker, where we look at every organization and every club and every activity at a school, rather than just let's take care of the football and the hockey and the baseball team because they're the biggest and we can make the most money.
And they get
right?
and that team gets the most money and the most gear
all the time.
Yep.
If you can be inclusive across everything, right, which is what we do, like we've got a nice message there where it's like, hey, you're on the chess team. There's 3 of you. You should still get a hooded sweatshirt. Just like they did on the hockey team, right? So that's a big message that we have here. But do you feel like there are sports that are further along than this? And this could be at a high school level. It doesn't need to be pro. Further along in this overall you can play project, like just in general, than some sports?
I think every sport has subunits of it that are further along than others. I don't know that one sport is leaps and bounds beyond any other when it comes to the inclusion stuff. And again, not just about LGBTQ inclusion. It's more so now you're seeing, now there's going to be an Asian American Pacific Islander night or, celebration around there. So you're seeing a lot more of this stuff happen. I think I give credit to the NHL and it's unfortunate they don't get more focus and more press around this in that they do a heck of a job on most NHL teams now have a full staff internally that focus on community outreach and underserved communities. And I think maybe because hockey it's so hard to be a hockey player. You have to have found a rink with some ice on it to even be able to do it as a young person, which isn't like a ball in a field outside, your house.
Yeah.
And then you had to have bought those ridiculously sized skates and, huge helmet when you're a kid, and you're getting driven to ice. And then you have to actually be able to skate to be able to play that game. So I think hockey knows its limitations better than some sports to say, we already have a lot of barriers to entry. Let's not make this a barrier to entry. And that's why I think they started years before others. I'll give you an example. They have a couple things they're doing right now where it's like, listen, if we could change any rule of hockey to make it better, more interesting, more fun, more engaging, more inclusive, let's do it. And they do these studies and like close the rink and let's have a couple teams practice with, you only get to wear one skate today or whatever it is they're trying. Like anything is on the table to be adjusted. And I think that's where hockey takes a hard look at itself a lot more than maybe other sports. And I think it's from that culture of just, it's a hard enough sport to get into. Now, then you get into, other sport like baseball. There's some teams that do really, really well around this. Actually, the president of the Pirates right now came from the Penguins and has instituted a whole lot of great stuff for inclusion around the Pirates organization. And then you get into, soccer. And I think soccer itself, the Mexican soccer chants, they've lost all home game opportunities for the national team for Mexico because they won't get rid of the homophobic soccer chants. It's like you're losing millions of revenue every single year just because you won't get into that. So, but I think soccer is taking a hard look at itself, and with the World Cup being in Qatar this year, you can't even use certain words there. You can't even say the words homosexual.
This is like a wild spot for the World Cup to be, right? It's tricky. There's like a lot of things you go to jail for.
Really?
Yep.
Yes.
No PDA in public.
No PDA in public. Like there's lots of stuff that like, and soccer is like a emotional sport like that too.
You can't
right?
hug after a goal.
Right.
You can't hug after a goal in Qatar?
Nope. Not in 2022 November.
2022, I think it's in November.
That's shocking.
It's wild.
Yeah,
this
plan can't
You can't
lose,
jump
right?
up and down. You can't clap.
Yeah, it's also about like the things that you post, like the,
No.
all
You can
these
clap and
players
you
on
can jump
social
up and down.
medias and
You
stuff.
can't
I was exaggerating a little. I was exaggerating a little bit.
Your own hands can touch
But
each
still,
other.
I actually didn't know that about Qatar.
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening
Holy
with this
crap.
right now and there's also been like 5,000 people have died building their stadium.
I did hear that.
Stadiums.
Yeah.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How? Heat exhaustion or something? That's not.
Oh yeah. And they also don't have an OSHA over there. So it's like, there's no guardrails on anything. You're just up
Yeah,
hundreds of feet in the air. And
Yeah, it's kind of strange. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think where I give credit is certain sports and certain teams take a leap forward over others. I think as organizations or as sports in general, I wouldn't say that one really outclasses a lot of the other ones, but I think there's been really cool ideas and unique things and steps taken here to say, listen, we understand that we're stronger as a wider organization and casting a wider net to fans and to participants. So that's where I give credit to any sport who raises the hand. Canoe and kayak is one we just talked to. NASCAR does a hell of a job. Like there's a bunch of things you wouldn't expect out there that are doing pretty good job.
And whether you're in the locker room or in the stands, just assume you have a member of that LGBTQ plus community person in the locker room, and that can stop a lot of problems right there.
I always, it's funny when people say it's like, hey, if you have to say, hey, no offense, or hey, I was joking. If you need to like follow up whatever you're saying with that, you likely shouldn't be saying it anyway. And I think that's one of those measurements in our brain that if somebody is standing there from that community or that race or that religion or whatever it happens to be, would you say that thing still, and or would you have to say, hey, just joking, or no offense? And if you are, just not worth saying it. And move on. There's
and then also,
jokes.
what would be awesome too is, and you probably see that, and obviously we're not in the locker room anymore, is having a captain or somebody next to you saying, hey, shut up, stop that. Having someone speak up to it and not being afraid to ask the question or have the conversation.
Well, absolutely. And we always say, listen, there's in person doing that. And then there's also the almighty group chat, which we all know has some creative aspects to our group chats that we see, especially from athletes. And so on the group chat, can you trust that if somebody makes a joke or says, oh my God, that's gay. Is the next comment LOL or, haha, yeah? Or is it, not here, guys? And that's what we're going after. It's not about running down the street with a rainbow flag. We have the street and the flag if you want to do that. It's more so this small stuff that just makes a massive difference. And that added up over time is inclusion. And it's a better team. It's a better sport. Like, it's a better experience for all of us.
Right. I just was peeling through my mind all the group chats that I had. And I would say that I think a lot of that stuff has actually fallen out naturally. Like in the last 5 years, 3 years, 10 years, whatever it is, where that might have been heavy in there early, right? Mm-hmm. Where I think naturally it's fun. I'm thinking of one. I've had a group chat with 4 buddies that I played with the Astros with.
If it gets in the wrong hands, it's going to be taken the wrong way.
Right, that's true too. Yeah. But this thing has been alive.
No, that doesn't mean that. No, seriously.
This thing has been alive since 2008, right? So, like, if we go deep, there's like.
By the way, you should see how many pictures he has in his phone. It's an ungodly number.
So I've never deleted anything out of my phone.
I can't even believe this.
So I don't know how, first of all. I don't know how to use the cloud thing. I just keep on buying more storage, but everything just stays on my phone.
I bet you they're all in the cloud regardless.
Oh, yeah. My picture roll starts in 2008, like on my phone.
I can't wait. I can't wait till the tip phone hack happens, and all of a sudden,
that will not be a great hack. I will tell you that. There's a lot of pictures that I've taken lately that are what am I trying to say? Self-deprecating.
I'm trying to make myself
where
better.
I've been like, okay, I need to take a picture of this so that it never happens again.
Yep.
I walked by the mirror the other day and I was like, gross. Picture. Yeah. That was it.
You were covered in powder, head to toe. You were looking good.
Yeah. Nipples down.
Nipples down.
That's the term. But what else do we have?
Oh, our partnership.
Yeah, no, and we're excited about it. Max, what's the giveaway that we're doing? We're doing
Boston
a giveaway,
Marathon?
right?
Working on a jersey for the Boston Marathon.
Yeah, we are going to
should do
supply
more.
their team at the Boston Marathon with jerseys.
Yeah,
Hopefully it's sports moisture meant like.
I know. Yeah, we will make sure of that for you.
Oh yeah,
you know what? Cotton tee, right? No cotton tees in the Boston
we need
Marathon.
special underwear or something.
You're gonna have to put like Band-Aids over the like.
I've done that.
Oh, I have too.
I've done that.
It's a problem. It hurts.
That's the powder thing. Then you tell you what. Then you go to not the Johnson & Johnson. What's the one that? What's the other one? No,
Gold Bond.
Gold Bond. Put Gold Bond on that. Medicated, not fun. Not fun.
After it's been ripped apart.
Oh, not fun. I remember the first time, like when you used to go down to spring training, and I would say, I'm from Maine originally, and then have been in the Northeast my whole life, and would, get drafted by Houston, which is in a hot climate, and our spring training is in Kissimmee, Florida. And I remember the first spring training I went down, like I just was in the Maine winter until the middle of February, right? So I am a ghost, absolute ghost. I went down and getting all your gear, it's hot. Like throw the shorts on, throw the shirt on, like gotta go run poles. And your pole is running foul pole to foul pole. Get your run in, do 40 poles or something like that. I remember getting done. My calves were orange, like they were fluorescent orange, and my chest, my man area right here was on fire to the point of like streaks on my shirt of like blood. And I'm like, this is not good. Like, what am I going to do? And I was hurting. I almost had to go on the DL. I almost went on the DL for chafe.
I can't pitch.
I was like, I can't throw. This hurts so bad right now.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's been there. Oh. We came full circle right there.
Yeah.
So
look at that. That's why you run
podcast. Yeah, Signs of a Good podcast. You open something, you bring it home. So we have to do more though. We should do more of them. So we'll figure out how to do more with you guys. Yeah. I mean, this is a great conversation. We appreciate it. You've been fun to talk to.
It's been a blast,
right? And we've learned.
I've grown.
What have we learned? We've learned a lot.
I've grown.
Max, have you learned anything?
A lot.
And Max is a sailor too. Max sails, rides horses.
No, previously rode horses. Again, like swote.
You swoted.
Yes.
Rode. And then any other sports?
Sailing.
Yeah.
Football.
What about now? What about right now? What are you doing right now? Just sailing, right?
Just sailing.
Okay,
He's trying to get his boat in the water.
No, it's in the water.
Oh,
Trying to get the water out of the boat.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
Sailing feels inclusive.
Oh, it's super inclusive.
Very inclusive.
Definitely.
Right? I would say so.
Well,
too.
so I've worked with U.S. Sailing and some others, and their challenge is getting people who from areas that are not just the Northeast and Maine to hop in a sailboat and actually learn what they're doing. Like that,
Or
it's one of those
San
things that
Francisco.
you have to have a boat and a body of water and the money to be able to get it done. So that's one of those things they have. But they're doing a great job again.
It might
That
be
makes
harder than
sense.
hockey.
That makes sense.
It might be harder
Yeah.
than hockey.
Yeah. So that's one of those sports though that they do a pretty good job because I think they see themselves, and equestrian's another one. Like how many you got to own a horse? Like that's not an easy thing to do.
No.
To be able to do that stuff. So I think those sports get it, and they do there's a huge fund that the U.S. Equestrian has to do outreach into communities and like, hey, try riding a horse for the first time, and then if you like that, let's hop over the first gate and see how that goes. So I give credit to those sports that know they have a challenge and go after it.
Imagine the poor horse that sees us coming to ride a horse for the first time. It's like, look at these.
There's absolutely no chance I'm getting on a horse. No chance whatsoever. He just laid out. He just laid out. He wouldn't get up. Yeah, just like
it wouldn't even lay down. It would actually sit like a dog and be like, get off of my back right now.
I'm not getting up.
That
This is going to be hard. This is going to hurt.
Yeah,
That's
that
what
would
the
be
horse would be
tough.
saying. This is going to hurt.
That would be tough.
Max, you got to get these guys on horses for the next podcast. Come on.
Oh, God.
Or sailing.
I'm scared.
Yeah, nervous.
You're high. That thing is, you're high up.
Oh yeah.
And that thing can do whatever. Like I got it one time in Denver when I played out there the last 2 years, and the guy actually had the reins. The reins. Got it. Had the reins. Just walking around. I almost my pants. That's worth it.
$20.
That's worth it.
Put it in the
That's
jar.
worth it. I'll take it.
Put it in the jar.
It was terrifying.
It's not. I mean, my neighbor had 25 horses growing up. Like he had a big farm and did the whole thing. And I remember I hated horses growing up. I was like, these things terrify
How can
me.
you hate horses?
I just didn't like them. The big teeth. I was always like, they're gonna bite my head off or something. And they're not. They're like, and he'd be like, give it a carrot. I'm like, absolutely not, because it looks just like my fingers. So no way there. But then when I moved to Lexington, I actually really liked horse racing and barns and. I was like, I'm kind of becoming, a little bit of a horse aficionado.
Yeah.
Right? That's a good word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're an expert.
And not an expert, just like I like to follow it now. I will say I went back to his farm a couple years ago with the girls. And there's a guy. This is a funny story, actually. So I'm like, oh, cool. Let's go up and look at the horses, girls, right? Like, so they're probably 5 and 3 at that time. Mm-hmm. So we're sitting out there just outside the fence, right? And he's on a horse. The horse is a little wild. And then there's another guy riding a horse, and this thing's like barely lumping along. Like doing this, and we're watching. All of a sudden, that horse, I don't know what happened. It launched that guy off it, and it started running, just looping the thing, and like it was going to run, like and jump over the fence. I was like, we're getting out of here. We ran. We got in the car. We were done. So that's my last real close encounter with a horse, except for watching on TV. But I do like that.
Tip, I have a theory. Like I think horses are one of those things. If they ever just get together and it's time to rebel, like it's over because they are so massive and strong.
Yeah.
Horses and then crocodiles on golf courses. Like if they ever really just want to go after all of us,
what's wrong with people
we've
going
gotten used to it. This has become so normal.
wrong?
Like it's over. So I think we are living very tenuously on this.
That's scary. Yeah. What were you saying?
Duck-sized horse or horse-sized duck?
Oh, this is a good question, Max. Yeah. Duck-sized horse.
Or 100 horse-sized. Sorry.
100 what? All right. So
No,
what
this is
that?
one of those hypotheticals.
Yeah. Would you rather fight off 100 duck-sized horses
Yep.
or one horse-sized duck?
One horse. Oh.
It depends. If it's one of those ducks, like a
you're
swan,
dead.
those mean swans.
I think you're dead either way.
Probably. Well, no. If it's a mean swan thing, like they have that huge beak. Imagine like a horse-sized massive beak, like closing on you. That's not fun. No. Also, I have one for you, Max. Back at you.
Oh, God.
What's heavier? 1,000 pounds of feathers or 1,000 pounds of bricks?
They weigh the same.
Ooh,
There
nice
you go.
job. Nice job, Max.
Been around the block a couple
Okay, all right,
times.
good.
Oh, Kurt, hey,
right.
we appreciate you coming on here, man. That was a blast. And keep up the good fight. What you guys are doing is important. And as we all see in sports and athletics, it means so much more later on in life. So let's get everybody out there that can play.
I appreciate
You
it.
can play.
You can play project.org, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
Do that again?
Right at the
You can
end.
play project.org. And we listen, we are happy to help any organization, big or small, youth league to pro organization, whatever athlete it might be. And again, it's just about small incremental changes makes the biggest difference. And so we really appreciate the time that you've given us. I mean, you all have been amazing. The fact that we got Dan to use a highlighter. I mean, that's a win in
First
itself.
highlighter.
He's never. I don't think he's ever bought a pen. He's never had to have a pen.
This is
Like,
awesome.
this is
So-
brand new.
Hey, whatever
Thank
you
you,
can do for the
and thanks,
Instagram
Squad
followers,
Locker.
we appreciate
Yeah,
it
well,
too.
also, yes. Like, follow, subscribe, share. Just yourself. That'd be fine. Just one of you.
one at a time.
Yeah,
One at a time.
one follower at a time. Actually, can you try for us right now to see if we're shadow banned? Because we may be right now. So we're gonna need your help.
Nice.
All right, we
All right,
appreciate
Kurt.
it, Kurt. Thanks a lot,
Thank
man.
you. Thanks, Squad
Okay.
Locker. We really appreciate the help.
You got it.
Yeah, can't wait to talk to you
later,
again.
man. See ya.
All right.
Bye now.
Past Our Prime is brought to you by Squad Locker. Squad Locker is your one-stop shop for custom team apparel, delivered right to your front door. Learn more by visiting squadlocker.com.